Hello and welcome, folks, to The Freelancer. This podcast discusses all things publishing through a social justice lens. My name is Andy Hodges. I'm a cultural anthropologist turned fiction writer and editor, and I own a book editing business called The Narrative Craft. Please subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode, and sign up for my fortnightly newsletter in the show notes if you want more regular updates. So this is episode 3 of season 2, and I'm here with the wonderful Karen Parker again. Hello.
I'm back.
Yay. And today, that was a wild laugh. Okay, so here, today we're going to be discussing our own work a little bit, because we are both editors/book coaches who also write. So do you want to start off by talking a little bit about your writing career and background? I know that you've written 2 novels, and I just want to hear it all. I'm here for it.
I've written 2 novels, but I've only queried 1. And I say 2 novels because the one that I'm querying is my MFA thesis, which was literally a part of my graduate degree, so I had to finish the thing in some way, shape, or form. And then the other one has not. Man, I haven't thought about that one in years. That one was a 50,000 word draft written during a November of yesteryear, and I have not picked that one up. However, on my press kit page on my website, I have a couple of ideas that I'm toying around with. One is a prequel to my thesis, and then another one is like a kind of like a like Workshops of Empire meets Bridgerton. Like I wanted to combine like the colonial aspects of writing in MFA programs, but put in like a Bridgerton setting so that there's like agents who are matchmaking with authors. Like this is really, really like just infant stages, but like that's where my mind goes with
I love
like
that idea.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
I love the idea, but like, can I do it? Can I pull it off? That's the question. Because I haven't written a word of that. But I've also written a few poems for maybe a chapbook that might explore like my time in Japan and my gender identity. Definitely going to work on my memoir because I spent 3 years over there and a lot happened. I've got a few screenplays like that are still sort of half baked. So lots of stuff. And in fact, like as I'm querying, I'm leaning more on working on those new things while I wait to hear from agents. So that'll keep me busy.
That sounds like a smart idea. Yeah. So I used to work as a cultural anthropologist. So in that previous career, I published academic articles and books with trade presses and university presses and so on. But novel writing is completely different. So when I switched away from all of that, which is 6 or 7 years ago now, I got back into novel writing because in my 20s, I was playing around and having fun, having some like bad experiences as well with grad school style critique groups. And I think this is true for a lot of people. When I set up my small business and got into this kind of entrepreneurial world and out of academia, I felt like I was kind of coming back to myself in a way, which is really nice. And I was kind of coming back to things that I was passionate about when I was 10, 12, 14, 15, because I read so much and it was pretty much all spec fic, mostly fantasy, some horror when I was a teenager. And I just started writing a few short stories to start out. That was incredibly helpful for getting my head around craft stuff. I've got some literary translations. Some of them are published in like journals and things that kind of straddles academia and the fiction world. And then I've got this novel, which is what the Mythcreants team will call kind of a magnum opus. It's kind of, it's a first.
It's a magnum opus. It's a magnum opus.
It's an everything novel. It was a first novel. And I kind of had this experimental approach of I'm learning how to write. I'm learning fiction craft. I'm also improving my dev editing and my line editing skills while I do it. It's a playground. That was my approach. There's always just more revisions that need to be made. And I think that is also a potential trap as well. So how does what I just said fit with your experience of your magnum opus?
Definitely with magnum opus, because like my magnum opus or my MFA, like I've I've been working on technically for, I mean, you could say 10 years or 20 years, because it literally came into my head where like the seed was planted and sprouted because it was basically a Yu-Gi-Oh fanfic. And I liked
Cool.
ancient Egyptian mythology, and that has stayed with me the entire time. And with revision, it helps that I am trying to traditionally publish this, because at some point you just got to say it's good enough. It's good enough. It's done. And even when you query it and you get an agent from it, they're probably going to want to do some revision on it anyway. So there's still some wiggle room, and that's likely. Sometimes because the publishing industry is so cutthroat, and because there are way higher expectations for marginalized writers to like be at the top of their game and to just cut through the competition, there may not be many edits involved. But like, always assume that like, yeah, there could be like 1% I could do. But for me, I just have to remember that it needs to be good enough. And if you go into an MFA program, or like, put that work on a pedestal or have it be judged in that way, like most MFA programs, like they want your book to be good, but like good enough is good enough. And they, at least for my MFA program, it was understood that the real writing that you do happens when you leave the program. Some people are like just amazing and like, meteors and like shooting stars, and like they all the dominoes just fall into place, like they're good. But if it's not an immediate thing and you still need to change and revise things, that's not a bad thing either. But when and how to stop revision, I would just say treat it as methodically as you can. Like, look at your structure and be like, do I like every word on this page? Do I like where it ends? Do I like potentially where it goes if you're writing a series or a sequel? And just be kind of methodical about it.
Yeah, I think that also links to one of the themes that I've noticed amongst kind of successful writers, and we can define success in 100 different ways, but it's about keeping going and just carrying on. I know, for example, that you're not going to go from being a complete beginner writer to being like at the top of the publishing world and at the top of your game after getting, 1, 2, 3 manuscript critiques or some brief critique feedback. You need to be in community and like learning from other people, reading a lot. And I think the people who do that, there's maybe two main kinds that I've noticed. One of them is people who are just incredibly persistent and have this incredible focus on this goal. And the other kind are the people who are a bit more relaxed, but just really, really, really enjoy writing.
Yeah.
So next question, how do you juggle writing with editing/coaching in your everyday life?
So I feel like it is a very delicate balance that hinges on self-care. And what I mean by that is, I've just been doing a lot of self-care work in general because of the impending fascist regime.
Yeah.
and the fact that I just need to take care of myself in general. So I've been exercising, I've been doing Tai Chi, I've been meditating, and that sort of gives me a baseline. I also have to recognize when I have I have to recognize when I transition to new phases in my life. Like for some people that have been working on a novel for 10, 20 years, or just that, have been entering the query trenches for the first time, it's a weird place to be, because you've gone from working on something and being with that thing for a long time and sitting next to it to just like, tossing it out like it's free candy. And it's a little jarring. And so, blogging about it helps, journaling about it helps, and, taking each moment slowly. So that would be like the first grounding thing that I would do to really like, the body is a temple, treat it right. And then with editing and coaching and writing, I have to be really mindful of my time. And I'm mindful of my time in general from just being a neurodivergent person. I like doing deep work. I don't like switching back and forth between a bunch of tasks.
Same here.
Yeah, I try to work in, I work in like 2-hour blocks, and that's not because I'm slow at it. Like, people will think I'm slow at it because of capitalism and like just professional habits, but that's just, I like just being in one spot and rooted. And just, having that time to not feel like I'm rushing. And yeah, I know my limits and my needs, and that has taken some work, and that's taken some unpacking, because for most of my life I thought I was something else, or I thought I was, neurotypical, and just struggled to do things how they were supposed to be done. It's like, no, like I have to recognize, who I am, what I want, and how best I work. So it's really like juggling. Writing is like, what is it? It's not flying, it's falling with style. Quoting Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, and that brings me on to another theme for like surviving in the entrepreneurial space, which I think is about knowing yourself. Like I know for my editing projects, so in my first couple of years, I would do lots of small bitty projects for people, and my brain just couldn't hack that. So now I pretty much I like the occasional small project for the variety, but I like that deep work. I like working with a novel. I don't like pressing deadlines every day of the week, which some people have in their freelance world. So I think to survive and thrive, it is important to figure out all of these details about yourself and what works for you. And that's not just individual and personal. Like you have to put that in the context of like society and like capitalist demands and all of these things as well. So the struggle with my writing is prioritizing it in my schedule because it's not paid client work.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. I usually do an hour before I start my client work each day.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do that, I find it invigorates me. I generally feel better on those days. But when deadlines start to press, then that's the first thing that goes.
Yeah.
It's tricky. It's tricky because you're doing this thing and you're really enjoying it and you're getting a lot of stuff out of it. But you're also like, I'm just doing this solitary thing and I don't know what's going to happen next with it.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that because I feel the same way. I genuinely, if I don't write, I just feel angry for the rest of the day. Or if I don't do some kind of creative thing or don't fill that cup, like it's a domino effect. But I also have to remind myself that life is rarely this orderly as I want it to be, and that it's okay to. Like if there is a deadline and you just have to, work some evenings or to work in the afternoon, or that writing takes a back seat, you can move the bar lower, or you can pivot, or have one type of schedule that's your ideal day, or one type of schedule that's like schedule B, where it's like, okay, here's some slots for editing work that I could do. I might be doing the same thing when I'll be doing that kind of as I do my book coaching courses, which are run in the mornings where I typically like to write. I might just write in the afternoon instead, or alternate in those days. So being firm is me saying that I want to do some kind of writing at some point during the day, but being flexible. That flexible part is I want to do it at some point during the day, or I want to do something creative in place of that, or I want to do something like I want to scratch that itch. Like just the other day, I was kind of torn between like working on something new while waiting to hear back from agents, or working on the sequel to my to the novel that I'm querying. And I was like, you know what? I can write a blog post about this, and that counts. That counts as writing. Because I'm putting something into existence. I'm creating something. So I found that being flexible helps, and it's not a loss if I don't hit that mark that I've set for myself in that specific way. And that's taken a lot to recognize, because I like things a certain way.
Yeah. And I think already having got to that stage of having a full draft that has been revised, that's already testament to incredible drive and discipline, because so many writers just don't get to the end of that first discovery draft quite often.
Shout out to my accountability buddies email list that I emailed each month as I was working on revisions for my novel. Just the fact of having like a huge list of people that I emailed every month saying, "Hey, I'm still working on this. Hey, I'm running into these snags." Like just to check in, that was a great anchor. That's a great anchor.
Yeah, and I will do a massive shout out to the Mythcreants team and their Discord because I get so much out of that. I just love hanging around there. And I haven't been hanging around there enough recently, but that's because it's the summertime and so on. Yeah, as autumn begins, I will get back in the jive. Okay, so question number 3: does being a writer make you a better coach or editor? Thoughts, hot takes, anything?
Hot takes. I say yes.
I say yes as well.
And
yeah.
Jenny Nash, the CEO of Author Accelerator, disagrees with me.
Okay.
And I love Jenny Nash. I'm not gonna we're not fighting over this. But the argument goes, or the argument that was posited to me as I was getting my certification is, and other students getting their certification, is that you don't need to be a writer in order to be a book coach, in the same way that you don't need to have broken your leg in order to be a doctor and prescribe like a cure. And so yeah, you can study the craft, you can read the books, you can have that deep knowledge. And I think that's still helpful because being a reader offers a perspective that is absolutely needed. And if your reader eyes are really, really sharp on your, your stat block or whatever, then that can be huge. Like, I might gravitate toward a certain kind of writing coach or book coach or writing coach or editor with a reader's eye more than a writer's eye, because I'm at that stage where I want my writing to be read and not to be crafted. But I still think that being a writer makes you a better coach or editor because, speaking from working with clients and just hearing what they're struggling with, it's so powerful for someone to say, yeah, I've been where you are. I recognize the problem that you are dealing with because I dealt with the same thing, or I'm dealing with these same struggles right along with you. And sometimes, like, if you don't have that writerly sense, you aren't able to pick up on the holes or the pitfalls that your client might fall into. Like, for a reader brain, you can understand like what's working and what isn't working. But if you're a writer, you can understand why something is working or why something isn't working, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense, yeah. I'm just, as you were talking, I was also thinking through my own take on all of this. And I like, was that Jenny Nash's metaphor, like breaking the leg?
Yeah, I'm probably like paraphrasing and misquoting here, but yeah, I think that was my understanding of the argument of like, and I think it's because many people want to be book coaches and editors and want to help writers, but they think that they can't become book coaches and editors because they aren't writers, which isn't true.
That's not true. Yeah,
that's not true at all.
Yeah, so my metaphor, and this is really for dev editing, is the writer is like a person driving a car, and dev editing is like somebody with a clipboard or whatever sitting by them commenting on their driving. And they are two completely different things. Yeah. And you can be a really good backseat driver, but you can be an absolutely awful driver. That's the thing.
That's true. That is true.
And I think it's a little bit different with line editing, which is that heavy sentence level stylistic editing. If you are incredibly accomplished at line editing, then on one level, you'll be a good writer. But that's kind of the technical level. That doesn't necessarily mean you'd be able to put a novel together, which I think the hardest thing, and this is actually a point that Mythcreants make or argue, the hardest thing is moving from the outline to the implementation. Even if you have something which looks good on paper from a dev editing perspective as an outline of a novel, like the implementation is the hardest thing to do. Yeah.
I think kind of meshed with that, like with all of what we're talking about, is maybe imposter syndrome a little bit, because Serena Williams, like greatest female, possibly greatest all-time around tennis player of all time, like had probably, or still has a coach that has not won a whole lot of championships. Like, this is Serena Williams that we're talking about here. Like, Serena Williams needs the coach that she needs, and she needs to work out specific problems with, whether that's her serve or her mental health or what have you. And so with a developmental editor, which is helpful to see like how you're driving and how you move through those obstacles and, how you're navigating a road. To kind of riff off your metaphor here, your analogy, I would say that an instructor in the passenger seat of the car who has, who's been in that place of like very nervous behind the wheel, doesn't know how to like track eyes, will see potentially like maybe the car is too old, or maybe the car doesn't work and that's holding them back, or maybe they're just nervous and they can like talk to them. And I'm not saying that like editors are like super unemotional as I'm saying that. Like I feel like I'm implying that, but that's not what I'm implying. I'm just saying that being a writer gives you the edge of like seeing what's going on inside of the mind of the driver or the mind of the writer or the heart of the writer, rather than looking at what's external. You need both.
Yeah.
Absolutely need both. And that's why so many book coaches, I think, start out as developmental editors and, kind of start thinking like, okay, how can we help the writer as well as the writing?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been thinking about that a lot in my own coaching and developmental editing practice, because there's one end of coaching which overlaps with counseling, and that would be kind of a creativity coaching writers through things like imposter syndrome, overwhelm, things like that. As a coach, it would be unethical to go very deep without having that psychotherapeutic training, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of one end of coaching that I see, and the other end that I see is this kind of story coaching that overlaps with consulting and developmental editing, where you're helping the writer figure out and get their head around all of the different parts of story. And there are all of these different moving parts, and they're kind of difficult to, you work on one and then that might create a new problem with another part. And it can be a bit like whack-a-mole, I think.
Well, that's the thing though. Like when you're a book coach instead of a developmental editor, you start to see that problems that are showing up in the manuscript are indicative of problems that are at the writing level or the sort of emotional or mental level. Like if you have a manuscript where you have all of these different POVs and you have like you just want to write everything in it, there is an emotional reason behind it. Of course, or there's an attachment to it. And, being a book coach, I feel like gives you the space to talk about those things in a more in-depth way.
Yeah. A lot of writing is also psychology, or
yes,
psychosocial even. And I think that is one of the massive benefits of being an editor/coach who also writes. Going back to that anthropology now, but it's a little bit like field work. You've got all this experience, first-hand experience that you can draw on. And when you can draw on that in an appropriate way, it can be so powerful and invigorating.
And I will say, though this might be a little bit of my imposter syndrome kicking in, I feel like as a book coach that works with BIPOC and LGBTQ writers, like even me, like even when I choose people that I want to work with or business entities that I want to work with, I'm like, the proof is in the pudding. Like I want receipts. I want testimonials. I want to know that like you intimately know my struggle. And, for some people, they might not need to know that as intimately and they just want a problem solved. They want the kind of external. Yeah, it's both like me as a consumer and me as an entrepreneur. I understand that I look at other businesses or book coaches or editors or other entities the same way that my potential customers might look at me.
Yeah, there's like a distinction there between doing the technical work, and if you're part of this massive like TradPub operation, doing dev editing, for instance, you often do just write a fairly short report and you might not have that much contact with the author.
Mm-hmm.
But this kind of, I don't know, slightly deeper work where you're kind of also working alongside in community with and are rooting for that person.
Yes.
For their success. That is just so incredibly rewarding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like the clients that I work with, like I genuinely want them to succeed. I want us all to succeed. It's not like, you have to make me look good. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. Because my clients my clients' success is my success. They are helping hold open the door for me and for others.
I like that, yeah. And success, what it means for everyone is different, and that's beautiful too. For some people that I know, success would be just feeling good and excited about their writing and getting up and writing. And then for other people, it's about trad pub contracts or small publisher contracts or selling, I don't know, thousands of copies if they're self-publishing, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which is not bad. It's nice.
It's not bad.
It's the cherry on top. It's not the sundae.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's another really important point. And it goes back to enjoying the process. It's about, the process is the thing. It's not, the product is not the thing. The product is like the nice cherry on top that might happen or might not happen.
Yes.
So
it's about the journey, not the destination.
I know we're back to the
super cliche. I need to edit it out. No, keep it's true.
We're back into the quest, or let's not speak of the hero's journey. But yeah, but writing a book in a way is a quest, and I think that's why many writers write quests as well, because they can relate to it on a deep, visceral level. Okay, we're pretty much done here now, but before we finish, Karen, can you tell us a little bit about your coaching program? And I heard there's this amazing scholarship fund called the Captured Phantom Fund?
Yes. So it is the Captured Phantoms Pay It Forward Scholarship Fund. And basically, every year, I set aside 5% of my earnings, or at least 5% of my earnings, from coaching and editing jobs. And that's put in a fund that helps subsidize the cost for coaching and editorial services that I provide to BIPOC and LGBTQ writers of speculative fiction that I work with, since that is my specialty. I was inspired to make the fund due to a fellow editor, Jake Nichols, who created a fund of the same name. And I also just really want to emphasize that, yes, I'm in business for myself. Yes, I'm trying my best in the capitalist regime that we're under, but I am willing to meet you halfway or even all the way if you need that assistance at this time. So if you want to apply for a scholarship award to maybe cover some of the cost or all of the costs, just go to KarenAParker.com/book coaching. I think there's a hyphen between book and coaching. Maybe put that in the show notes.
Oh, yeah.
Or editing, and just click on one of the nice looking orange buttons to send an application for one of my services to work with me.
Okay. That is really cool. And I also have a scholarship fund, and I will drop details about that also in the show notes. So thank you, folks, for listening. Of course, once again, there's going to be loads of stuff in the show notes, so you just absolutely have to go there. If you enjoyed this and you want to keep in touch, or you have thoughts, hot takes, anything, you can send me an email or you can sign up for my newsletter. And finally, it would really help me out if you've got this far, you've been listening and enjoying it, if you would subscribe to this podcast, rate and review it. And that is it. Until next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy. Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye.